Hello and welcome back to Books and Us, the podcast about learning about new ideas and getting inspiration from books. I'm your host Ranjit Monga, and I'm back with interviews with the authors of books in the non-fiction category. If you would like to read about the podcast interviews, you can visit the website www.globalbihari.com and search for the column Literary Speaking. So, welcome again to season 2 of the podcast Books and Us. We are starting the season with a book about a groundbreaking event, the Bharat Jodo Yatra, the epic 4,000-kilometer nationwide march from September 2022 to January 2023, organized by the Congress Party. As you all may be knowing, the Yatra happened under the stewardship of Rahul Gandhi, Member of Parliament Lok Sabha and former President of the Indian National Congress. Rahul Gandhi is now also the leader of opposition in the Lok Sabha. The book titled Bharat Jodo Yatra, Reclaiming India's Soul, highlights the many layers of meaning of the Yatra, be it the social, political, economic, or cultural. So we have with us today the editors of the book, Pushparaj Deshpande and Ruchira Chaturvedi. Pushparaj is the director of the Samruddh Bharat Foundation. He is the series editor of the Rethinking India volumes, the Reshaping India volumes, and the co-editor of many other books. He writes for numerous national dailies. He has also worked with various legislators, the Rajya Sabha TV, the Rajiv Gandhi Institute for Contemporary Studies, and the Indian National Congress. He walked in the Bharat Jodo Yatra and helped with civil society outreach and interactions in a few states. Pushparaj, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me, Ranjit ji. It's lovely to be here with you.
Yeah, thank you. We also have Ruchira, the co-editor of the book. Ruchira is the national convener of social media and digital communications, Indian National Congress, and has previously worked with the party in various capacities. She's also a fellow of the Konrad Adenauer School for Young Politicians and an American Council of Young Political Leaders delegate. She also worked in the Bharat Jodo Yatra and coordinated its social media activities. Ruchira, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Ranjit ji, and hello to all the listeners.
Thank you so much. So let me start by asking Pushparaj, is the book just an account of the logistical and ideological context of the Yatra, or is it much more? What is the book about?
So it's much more than just a logistical account of the Yatra, certainly, Ranjit ji. I mean, we've divided the book into three sections. One is about people who walked throughout the Yatra, like Ruchira, as Bharat Yatris. It's their personal account of what the Yatra was, their reflections, both political and ideological. On the other hand, we also have people who organize the Yatra behind the scenes, from logistics, from social media, from communications, from outreach, not just to political, but also non-political forces. And then we have very senior, eminent thinkers, some of India's foremost academics, activists, policymakers across party lines, talking about what the Yatra means normatively to Indian politics today. When it was written, that is. So, as I said, it's both a sort of a historian's view on what the Yatra is politically, socially, and culturally, on one hand. On the other hand, it is also a first-hand account of what is happening in India, the genuine problems that various people are facing as the Yatra proceeds. So it's a mixture of historical record, contemporary analysis of what is happening, and as you rightly pointed out, the actual nuts and bolts of the Yatra. Mm-hmm. So one can say it's a 360-degree reading of what the Bharat Jodo Yatra was about.
I know a lot of people would be so interested in reading about the nuts and bolts of how such a massive, event was organized. And Ruchira, let me just bring you in. That was there a message to be given through the Yatra, and what was that message? For Rahul Gandhi himself, he says in the opening remarks in the book that he first thought that he would talk to people, but gradually he realized that he should just listen. And he says it was like an awakening for him. So in that context, what was the larger message?
Ranjit ji, I think to understand the message of the yatra, it's important to also understand the context in which the yatra happened. The yatra, at the time when it was conceptualized, it happened at a time when, the politics of fear, politics of hatred, politics of division, which was being actively promoted by the ruling party in the country, was at its peak. The state agencies were being abused to silence all kind of dissent. The government of the day was not really listening to the people. So the message of the yatra in that sense was very simple. The yatra was, and is a movement, to unite the country and to really give the message that India belongs to its people, no matter who they are, no matter where they come from. And that's exactly what Rahul Gandhi has also said, that, Bharat Mata is really the people of India, who they are, what their aspirations are, what their dreams are. And we just have to listen to them. And that was the message of the yatra.
Mallikarjun Kharge ji has also reminded us that the Satyagraha and Padayatra traditions, which are a part of our culture, of our politics. Mahatma Gandhi had taken out Padayatras, and now Rahul Gandhi also took out, and he spoke and listened to people. So you are saying that there is the situations during that time when Mahatma Gandhi took out his satyagrahas and padyatras, the situation is quite similar. Is there a parallel?
Absolutely. I think it has also been mentioned in the book that, this yatra was, in a sense, a second freedom struggle. And the freedom struggle to really unite the country, and also, as the book itself says, to reclaim its soul. What was happening during, the freedom struggle. The conditions were completely similar in the country today. And that is why, there was a need to carry out another, yatra, to go back to the people and to unite the country.
Yeah, just to add to what Ruchira was saying, Ranjit ji, look at. All of us have studied Indian history, modern Indian history, and at the time of the freedom struggle, you had the entire state apparatus against civil society. And when I say civil society, I mean everyone that is non-state actors, whether it's teachers, whether it's people who are working in white-collar jobs, whether it's the opposition also, whether it's journalists. Same thing was happening. There were repressive laws being misused. The state apparatus was being misused to crush any kind of dissent and avoid the sense that, this is a government of, by, and for the people. The same situation is happening today. Anything, just look at the last 1 week or 10 days. Anything that the farmers have asked about a legal demand for MSPs. People are talking about the freedom of press. Then on top of that, the opposition itself is not being allowed to raise genuine issues, whether it's Agniveer or rising terror attacks in Jammu Kashmir or in Manipur, so on and so forth. Now the government is stifling all dissent. So it's pretty much that. The state apparatus is against its people. Now, in that situation, this yatra becomes a very disruptive force, became a very disruptive force because it shook the status quo. That is what its political genius was.
The civil society's participation was a big plus point of the yatra. And as I read through the book, I saw in many states, in Karnataka, and especially also in Maharashtra, where 200 civil society organizations had come together to be part of the yatra. So I know you had a part in bringing them together. So what was it like, and what was the significance of them actually becoming part of Congress Party's Bharat Jodo Yatra in that sense?
So it was very clear to the Congress Party leadership, and Rahul Gandhi, Digvijay Singh, and Jairam Ramesh made it very clear to the entire rank and file that this is not going to be a Congress Yatra. This is going to be a People's Yatra, which is why great emphasis was taken to ensure that the aesthetics of the Yatra, the flags that would be carried, the banners that would be carried, would not be limited to one party, but anyone and everyone could join and own that yatra as their own. Towards this end, there was a national level meeting first organized, I think, in July 21st, before the yatra started, where they had about 250 organizations, and Yogendra Yadav, Saida Hamid, and many others, Vijay Mahajan, and many others such, Dr. Ganesh Devi, and other such eminent civil society activists, Aruna Roy and Nikhil Dey, of course, I remember, had given a call for all civil society organizations to join, to consider whether they should join formally in this Congress party's yatra. At that meeting, Rahul Gandhi and Digvijay Singh made it very clear that this is not going to be a Congress yatra. It is going to be a people's yatra. And that is what happened. Without any civil society organization losing its identity or merging their identity in the Congress, they were allowed to join into the yatra, either as participants to walk, whether it's 1 day, 1 week, 10 days, 1 month, or to interact, to bring together some genuine people's issues, movements and issues, to come and meet Rahul Gandhi and other Congress leaders from the state at the national level. So this is how it was planned. It was loosely federated. The organization I represent, Samruddha Bharat Foundation, we were tasked with creating a war room for civil society coordination, for their logistics, for their travel, for their interactions throughout the entire stretch of the yatra. And of course, there were in each state there were some civil society groups that took the lead. Of course, the Karnataka one that later fructified into E-Dina and E-Nadu. So local civil society in each state coalesced together. The Congress party went beforehand. Digvijay sir went beforehand, talked to them, saying that this is what we are doing. Who of you would like to join into for the interactions? Who will take responsibility to come and join in the yatra on which date, so on and so forth. And for each state, there was a Congress party civil society coordinator that was deputed to coordinate all these activities, like a bridge between the party and civil society. That was what was done. So in Karnataka, I know it was Sashikant Senthil. In Maharashtra, it was me along with Utkarsha Rupate, who was managing this. In Madhya Pradesh, it was Meenakshi Natarajan and Shobha Oza who did that. So every state had different people who was doing this coordination.
Yeah, and I was reading Meenakshi Natarajan's account of Madhya Pradesh, and she has very vividly described how the Yatris and, of course, Rahul Gandhi met so many people from different backgrounds, from different communities, and, the tribals and farmers and boatmen. So it was such a vivid and interesting account. It was like a directory of what goes on in a country, a directory of businesses, a directory of industry. So, Ruchira, I'm going to bring you in, and I'm sure that there must have been a lot of learnings. And were these learnings communicated to the wider in the wider media?
So I think one of the lesser probably talked about or lesser known aspects of the yatra is also how the yatra became a platform for dialogue, for policy formulation, for consultation. So like what happened in Madhya Pradesh, it was happening across like all states. For instance, I want to really highlight this. Rajasthan is one such example. Because from the policy consultations, the dialogues which happened there with with the leaders, with the civil society organizations, and with the people, one of the very important policy was formed by the government, which was the gig workers social security policy, which I think is one of the first of its kind across the country. And in our manifesto for 2024 also, it also became a part of that, where we were promising social security for gig workers. This was one of the very, very important parts of the yatra, because so many interactions were happening with whether it is the farmers or the women groups or the youth, or so many people from like the elderly to the disabled. So many things, so many learnings were coming out of that, and I think that has really shaped the party's approach to politics and policy.
One thing I want to emphasize is that when civil society started coordinating amongst themselves and deciding to join the yatra, there was a bridge, as I said, in every state between the Congress party and the civil society. And I remember in Kerala, civil society had sort of organized itself, and many people, Sridharji was there, and many others who were trying to coalesce civil society. They were all in touch with someone called Vishnunath, who was an MLA there, former MP. And Vishnunath ji was already in touch with almost 85% of these people as part of his activities. Some 10, 15%, maybe even 20% new additions were added in to expand the catchment area. And one is that they genuinely forced the Congress party to take up issues that the state leadership was not willing to take up. And I'll give you one example. In Kerala, there was the issue of a highway, which originally the Congress party had started as part of the emerging Kerala development redevelopment initiative across the state. And there was one particular highway which I think was cutting across some sea harbor and so on and so forth, which was going to displace some people. Now, the fact of the matter is the state leadership was united, not just the Congress, but even CPIM was united in the fact that this was a necessary project. This was a necessary developmental evil, but they were not so cognizant of the displacement that it was causing, especially to traditional fisher folk. Now, that civil society groups, along with the Congress leadership, the very progressive section of leaders within the Congress, was able to flag that issue to the state leadership. And something that was a very typically uncomfortable issue was discussed threadbare in front of ordinary people, society groups. And the Congress party leadership, which actually should have dealt with this as part of government, decided to address this issue as an opposition party. Now, there are similar multiple instances that happened like this across the Yatra, where micro issues that had severe implications for people were raised in front of the state leadership and the national leadership. And Rahul Gandhi actually played the role of a catalyst in discussing these issues with the state leadership in a very constructive, non-confrontational manner.
Ruchira, how do you think that the party cadres were, reacted to the Bharat Jodo Yatra? And I read in the book that it galvanized people on the grassroots like never before.
No, absolutely. I think the Yatra, became a medium for the party karyakartas across the country to, intermingle with each other, to meet each other. So many times, in fact, personally for me also, there were so many people I was connected to, but I had never met them. And the Yatra gave me an opportunity to, interact with them, really get to know them. And similarly for everybody who was part of the Yatra. At the same time, I think how it has really benefited the party is that it has created, an army of ideologically, committed people who are now experienced, and can take the party forward.
Yeah, Pushparaj, you have written about this in the book.
Yeah, I have actually.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's a very interesting thing because after a very long time, I mean, this happens to every political party, so I don't want to be unnecessarily critical. Every political party in government becomes very robust, and the bureaucracy helps out, the state sort of apparatus helps out. In opposition, it becomes sort of directionless. So this is what happened with the Congress after successive electoral defeats. But the one good thing that Rahul Gandhi did is break through that inertia, that creative inertia that had set in, and sort of said that, we really need to go to the people and disrupt our old ways of functioning. The Congress party, it's a very popular saying that it is a party of governance, but it also means that you're used to the state bureaucracy to function for everything, right? Now, this is something that he changed. He said that now, boss, we are going to go to the ground and start doing things. Every activity on the ground was done by Congress karyakartas. And it is fantastic. What Ruchira was just describing, I have personally, I mean, both of us have personally witnessed each karyakarta organizing food for, let's say, every day, 50,000 people.
Wow.
Organizing sleeping arrangements for 5,000 people every day. This is not just, they're not spending money and getting it done. They're actually begging and borrowing people. Can you give a generator? Utkarsh's article, can you give us a generator? Can you please lend us some water? Can you do this? It's all jugaad. This kind of jugaad, you can't teach someone in a classroom. You have to experience it and learn it.
And
that's what we learned.
And 1,000 people landing up for lunch unexpectedly. I read that somewhere.
And the lunch getting over.
Lunch getting over. Then you have to scramble and get food from somewhere else.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And nobody, I think, because for everyone, in the party, especially all the young people, nobody had experienced like this ever before.
Mm.
So nobody really knew. I mean, you don't know what's going to come. Every day is different. Every moment is different.
Mm.
So it's like good hands-on like learning.
Yeah.
Yeah, and in fact, even the security aspect of this,
Yeah.
think about it. This man has got Z security,
Mm.
Rahul Gandhi, not
Mm.
Z plus, but Z security. He is one
Mm.
of the most protected people in the country. For
Mm.
this man to walk on the road, state police does not have the kind of bandwidth to look after this. Who manages security? It is
Mm.
Congress party cadre. And can
Mm.
you imagine in a yatra, there are like suddenly 10,000 people swarming trying to meet him, and you have to manage, you have to basically make everyone feel welcome that, yeah, you're most welcome, join in, touch him, hug him, shake the leader's hands, but let's do this in a disciplined manner. The last time this kind of exercise was done was when Gandhiji used to organize civil disobedience movements or quit India movements.
Mm.
So this kind of hands-on training, no one in the Congress party has got for the past 30 years. He did that in just 6 months.
Ruchira, if you can describe to our listeners, how was it like being part of the yatra and walking the entire length? What was it like for you?
Initially, when I had joined the yatra, I thought I would be probably doing this for some time because I was also coordinating the social media activities, and it was first of a, one of a campaign for us. We didn't have any prior experience. We didn't know. We were
Mm.
going into it blind. We didn't know, what to do, what not to do. And we all decided actually to take it one day at a time, not just for our, social media work, but I think for the yatris also. Initially, it was really hard. I mean, getting up in the morning because the yatra always started at 6 o'clock. In fact, I remember very, early on, the yatris, they got together and they even spoke to Rahul ji and said that, can't we like shift the timings or probably, we were walking like, 25 kilometers a day.
Mm.
And how it was divided was 12 to 13 kilometers in the first half. And then in the evening, similarly 12 to 13 kilometers in the evening.
Mm.
So initially, obviously, it was very hard. We all had blisters on our feet, even I did. And I mean, a lot of people thought that, they won't be able to make it. So, but as it went on, I mean, there was some, it was just the energy was so great that we all persevered. It was very, very different because we were all living in, containers with minimum facilities. Even though there was this whole fake news and propaganda which was
Mhm.
being done by, the BJP IT cell, that the propaganda, the containers were, 5 star, where they had all 5 star facilities. In fact, they even said that Rahulji's container had a gym and, so many other things. But they were, literally made inside trucks,
Mm.
and there were 4 people, there were 6 people, there were containers with 12 people also.
Mm.
And so you had to make do with whatever facilities were there. Sometimes there was no electricity. Sometimes I remember very early on we were even denied permission to have, campsite, where our, every day the camp changed, where the containers were parked, the trucks were parked. And uh, every day once the yatra started, the whole setup had to be in a way dismantled and then move to the next location, and then we, set up again. And one very early on in Kerala, we were even denied, the ground where the camp was to be set up. And then, as a last minute thing, we all stayed in a school. It was a makeshift arrangement. So many times I remember, because it was very early on, the laundry setup, the clothes would, like, get mixed up, the colors would change, they would get lost. So very, 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 very different, very unique. There no one day was similar. Every day was a different experience. And I think personally for me as a yatri also, uh, we experienced so many, cultures, so many traditions. We met people across states, food and language, and everything was just so different, and an amazing, experience, once in a lifetime experience for any person to experience the country.
Pushparaj, you were earlier describing how the security and how it was like during the yatra. So, can you describe what was it like at the center where the Rahul Gandhi was walking, and how were people? I read the coordination for him to meet people, sometimes for half an hour, sometimes for a few minutes. That coordination also had to be very precise, and those people were told to stand on the way of the yatra, and then they would be allowed in.
So yeah, there are two kinds of interactions that broadly happened with Rahulji. One is the walking interactions, which is what you are describing, which was publicly visible because there was a huge D, almost a kilometer long D. Basically, it was a thick rope that was held together by some karyakartas, some police people, and others to basically somehow manage the crowd. This was preceded by a media van and social media vans, which some in-house, some outside. And then there was basically Rahul Gandhi at the center, followed by various leaders, first of the state and others who were walking behind him. Now, some interactions, I think about 10 to 15 interactions were pre-planned interactions, in the sense there were people who, civil society people or activists or academics who wanted to come and meet him, but could not meet him while during the lunch break because there were just too many other engagements and interactions planned. So they would then meet him on the way. They would stand ahead 3-4 kilometers before the yatra reached a certain spot, and then they would be guided into the yatra, into that D section, through by someone from Jairam Ramesh's his team. So they would sort of bring them in, make them interact, and Rahulji would interact with them for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, as long as they wanted to raise their issue. That was one kind of interaction. Then, of course, over and above that, in the walking interactions, Rahulji would often break the schedule and say, you know what, there are people outside the D section who are waving at me, wanting to meet me, young children, old people, or, enthusiastic youth, whoever, I don't know, farmers or mechanics. And he would just sort of wave them in and say, let them pass, let them pass. So that would then substantively increase the number of interactions, walking interactions that went. So I think on a day, he would be having, walking interactions, he would have, I think, about 40 to 50 walking interactions packed in the 12 hours that we were walking. Then there were sitting interactions, which were actually from groups of as small as 50 to upwards of 2,000 people. Those are basically people's movements, pressure groups, advocacy groups, who would submit beforehand their petitions to the outreach coordinator. So in Maharashtra, I was handling that. So there was almost a month and a half of intensive outreach work where we basically opened it up to anyone. And we got, I think, almost like 17 or 1800 petitions, of which we were able to identify, sort of categorize them as some are more important and more need some thought. So let them be classified as sitting interactions and let the rest be classified as walking interactions. But we tried our level best to ensure that everyone who sent in any request to meet him made sure that they met him. Plus, on top of that, there were other unforeseen interactions that he would do, like from when the interactions finished, when his lunch is finished, and then he was just going out towards the main road, he would stop and meet some people. Then when he was resting before that, he would meet some people.
Yeah, I read a description in one of the chapters that somebody had described it as a giant creature snaking its way through the road, and on any given day there were about at least a lakh of people in the yatra.
Probably that is a description of Kerala. I don't know, but I must say that there were times in the yatras, that it was difficult for, so like the permanent group of yatris, for us to even walk, because there were so many local people coming and joining in. And especially like what Pushparaj said, that, the unscheduled interactions, there were so many women. You must have also seen so many images of women who are just like on the sidelines and just shouting his name. And, and some of them would just, break the rope and just, somehow just come inside. And he always said that he always allowed them, and he always said that, meet everyone and anyone who wanted to meet him.
Supriya Srinathe said that he gave a safe space to women, and that was one of the biggest, attractions in the yatra, that women could find a safe space to interact.
Absolutely. I think if you see the images of the yatra, I think a major chunk of them are women who were just coming and just hugging him. Some of them, obviously, a lot of them were sharing their problems with him, but women just came like in all age groups, young women, elderly women. They would just come, they would just walk hand in hand with him very comfortably and just hug him. Children would just sit on his shoulders. I think that is one of the highlights, because very few leaders, I mean, in the country, you would see such kind of images where people from across all age groups, from across all communities, everybody is just, so comfortable with him.
Yeah, Supriya Srinathe has also said that her whole perception about Rahul Gandhi also changed, in the sense that from political leader, for her, he became an inspiring figure. So I want to discuss this first. Maybe Pushparaj, you can come in. How do you think it changed Rahul Gandhi, or was he always like this, and only the people's perception changed? And later, Ruchira, you can let me know how people's perception of him changed after the yatra.
Yeah. So Ranjit I mean, some of us who have had the good fortune of interacting with Rahul ji for some time have always known that he's been very, very thoughtful, very deep thinking, very engaging, and he is always very selfless in his conversation. And I want to explain what I mean by selfless. I mean, I don't feel that he wants to impose his viewpoint or his thinking or his perception on someone else. He always wants to draw out this other person, what this other person is thinking, what he is feeling, what she is wanting in life. And that kind of innate quality in him. He's a very sincere, compassionate person that has always been there in him since, since I've known him. I mean, I first met him in 2011. Since then, he's been just like that. There's no change in that. What has now happened is that he has been able to replicate, or not replicate, that's not the word I'm looking for. He's been able to apply that meaningful, compassionate, conversational style at mass scale. So he's been able to do this with hundreds and thousands and lakhs of people. And this is beginning to show, because I think now increasingly people are witnessing that this man is not who the BJP's propaganda machinery has caricatured and vilified him to be. He's exceptionally thoughtful, he's exceptionally well-read, he's exceptionally sincere, and he's not got a sense of elitism or arrogance in him. There's not a sense of that. You feel that this is a man next door who is your friend, who is your brother, who is your uncle, who you just want to talk to, who you can talk to and share your secrets with.
Yeah, I agree. I think, anybody who has interacted with him would say that he's a very deeply empathetic person. He's somebody who listens more than he speaks. And he's also very fearless in the sense of, like, always standing for what he believes in, no matter what people say. And as Pushparaj touched upon, he is somebody who has been, vilified by the BJP propaganda. He's been viciously trolled. So many fake videos, are still, routinely circulated to completely in an attempt to, destroy his image. So what happened in the yatra was that a lot of people who only saw, those clipped videos of his, those fake videos of his, they got to see him in person. And that really has dismantled, the propaganda of the BJP. And because people saw him for who he is, and they realized this is not what he is not what the BJP makes him out to be.
You mean not just through the media, but even at the grassroots level, like
even at the grassroots level? Yes, absolutely. Because so people just realize that, they're like, he's not what, how they're caricaturing him. So I think the yatra played an instrumental role in destroying that propaganda of the BJP.
Do you think the shift happened in the media as well?
I would say that it has happened, not like completely, but to a large extent, yes.
Yes, now, and of course now it is happening more and more day by
And
day.
of course now post elections, but it's not like he has changed. It's just that people have become more receptive. He is who he is how he's always been.
Pushparaj, now looking back at the Yatra, it's been 2 years, the elections have happened, and now we are into another Lok Sabha. So, from this vantage point, uh, uh, what do you think changed for the Congress party and the polity during the Yatra, which which stood them in good stead here?
So there are 3, 4 key takeaways here, Ranjit ji. One is that it has shaken off the cobwebs of inertia that were holding it back. The Congress party has suddenly found new life inside it, and this was injected only because of Rahul Gandhi. It was continuing to do business as usual. It was winning some elections, losing some elections, but to give it a clear programmatic line of action, that has happened exclusively because of Rahul Gandhi. That is one thing. The second thing is, as Ruchira earlier said, now the Congress party in every state has been able to effect a generational shift. One is that you have multiple leaders of the second generation
Yes.
who are primed and willing to take on responsibility. And I'll just give you 2 examples. In Karnataka, you have the likes of Krishna Bairegowda, Priyank Kharge. In Maharashtra, you have Satesh Patil, you have Yashomati Thakur, you have Vishwajit Kadam and Praniti Shinde and others. In Rajasthan, you have Sachin Pilot and so on and so forth. In every state, you have a second-run leaders. More interestingly, which is something that is not visible in the public right now, we have a third-rung leadership. And I know for a fact that in every state, you have 3 rungs of leadership that are prepared for the next 25, 30 years. As opposed to the BJP, which is on the downswing because it is demolishing they are demolishing their regional leaders by importing leaders from outside and centralizing powers in the PMO or in the CM. So they are demolishing their leadership, second, third, fourth rung. The Congress has built it up because of Rahul Gandhi, because these guys are trained and connected with the people. That is the second big change that has happened. The third big change is, for a long time, people kept accusing the Congress of ideological malleability. Today, no one can say that the Congress party is not clear on its ideological path. It says that Daromat, it says that Ahimsa, it says that we will stand up for even the most vulnerable classes, whether it's Dalits, OBCs, Muslims, minorities, Adivasis. There are such, and even the reclaiming of Hinduism as opposed to BJP's Hindutva. These are topics that the Congress party was not willing to touch upon because they said, oh my God, this is too dangerous a topic to touch upon. The BJP will caricature us or vilify us. Rahul Gandhi has taken on each of these questions and said that, you know what, this is our ideological line. I'm not saying that he's imposed his line on people. No, he has had multiple conversations with the entire Congress party as well as the people of India. And that is how we have evolved this clear ideological line. Now, I feel ideologically, organizationally and programmatically, the Congress party is much stronger than it was just a year ago. And this is going, the dividends of this, the fruits of this are going to last for the next 30, 40 years.
Wow.
This is our advantage now.
Yeah, Ruchira, if you can, if you have anything to add to that, and also whether the second Yatra, the Bharat Jodo Yatra, did that add to these learnings, or were the same learnings, sort of extended?
No, I agree with what he said, but the second yatra was very, different in format, very differently approached. And I think what the second yatra did was it built up on the gains of the first yatra, and it really helped in our manifesto formation. Whether it's the caste census, whether it is for the promises that we made, the 5 guarantees, the Panch Nyay. The second yatra was, how these promises came about.
Yeah, so Pushparaj, these 5 guarantees and the manifesto, I believe they all came out of the learnings from the Bharat Jodo Yatra, right?
Yeah. The Bharat Jodo Yatra very substantively contributed to creating the Congress party's Nyay Patra, Samajik, Arthik, and political, Rajnetik. We can actually pinpoint which people in which state talked about which of these demands. Many of them resonate, many of them overlap, many of them conflict with each other. And the Congress party has done some thinking on how they can be reconciled or coalesced together. But we can point out, this is a people's manifesto. This is actually a very painstaking effort that has crossed 3,500 or 4,000 kilometers one way and 4,000 kilometers another way. 8,000 kilometers se bana hai ye manifesto.
I think another example would also be of the whole issue of unemployment and paper leaks, which became center stage during the elections, and even today it is one of the burning issues in the country. It really gained more momentum, during the second yatra, the Bharat Jodo Yatra. Rahul ji's interactions in Bihar, UP, and the whole Hindi heartland, where he really interacted with so many youth. In fact, if you remember the footage, the visuals which were coming out of
Yes,
UP, Allahabad,
yes,
Banaras, there
yes.
were so many young people who were just like the crowd. The roads were just like full, you know, and and that is when he really interacted with them and raised the issue of paper leaks and unemployment, which also then fed into our manifesto, and we spoke of a law against paper leak and promised unemployment allowance and Pehli Naukri Pakki, the apprenticeship program also. So all that, it is a culmination of the interactions from the first yatra and the second yatra.
Mm. I also want to mention one more thing, the reaction of the allies, and they have also written, like Sanjay Raut and Supriya Sule and Mehbooba Mufti. They have also written articles in this book, and they have all praised the yatra as a people's yatra rather than a Congress party's yatra.
Yes, I mean, that was a very, I think in many ways, there was already a lot of political churning going on in the country. No one is denying that. The government was breaking political parties, misusing governors as constitutional hitmen to topple state governments, or even stopping their laws from being passed. There are multiple Supreme Court judgments on this, and multiple cases that we know in popular parlance, whether it's Manipur, Karnataka, Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra. Many states have been collapsed. Arunachal Pradesh, because of what the BJP government and governors are doing. In that context, political parties realize that there is a genuine need for us to start working together and go back to the people. And in that sense, the Bharat Jodo Yatra offered a platform for every party to join in, meet the people, and genuinely understand what people are wanting. Are people genuinely angry at the BJP? Are people genuinely worried about the constitutional being destroyed? Are people genuinely affected economically or socially? I know for a fact that in Maharashtra, Aditya Thackeray ji or Sanjay Raut ji or Supriya Sule ji, all of these people, or multiple other party leaders also, they joined in. They were interacting with the people and understanding what they were saying. Not just that, they also understood that the Congress party is the common fulcrum, is the common point across the nation.
Yes.
So the fact is that everyone learned to compromise with each other, to adjust politically, because the people wanted, not just about our political needs. That was a big change. So in a sense, I think that the foundation for the India Alliance was laid in the Bharat Jodo Yatra. And I think A.S. Dulla talks about that
and
in his
also,
essay.
yeah, and there is also a special mention to the point when the yatra entered Kashmir, the Kashmir Valley.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
I think Ruchira will add in here about Kashmir. Kashmir, Ranjit ji, you must understand that gathering a crowd of 5,000 people in Kashmir is as good as gathering a crowd of 5 lakhs in a state like Karnataka or Maharashtra. 5,000 people, if you manage to gather 5,000 people in a rally, you're a mass leader in Kashmir. On the first day when the yatra, and Ruchira will talk to this, when they entered the state, 25,000 people turned up. 25,000 people.
Wow.
It is a historic, unprecedented turnout. It was so much, the government got so worried that they had to impose Section 144 in Srinagar. Still, people came out for that rally in Sher-e-Kashmir Stadium in Srinagar. I mean, the kind of, Kashmir is a terror hit, state.
Yeah.
For a national leader to walk with thousands of yatris, publicly braving threats from insurgents, and for people to come out in the thousands to meet him is huge. It is huge. It shifted something fundamentally in people's consciousness there. Kashmiris felt that this is a man and this is a party that will stand by us. I'm telling you, that has changed the politics of Kashmir. Bharat Jodo Yatra has changed Kashmir politically and culturally forever. It is not the abrogation of 370. It is this thing, Bharat Jodo Yatra.
No, absolutely. Kashmir, I think is like, as Pushparaj said, it's a bit difficult, to navigate. It was because also in terms of the climate, it was snowing. There was this one time when there was a landslide and the yatra had to be cut short. So many times, there was security apprehensions. This one time when I think the CRPF said that the area was not safe and the yatra again had to be cut short in the middle. Then Anantnag had its, own security issues. But despite everything, in fact, the last day, like Pushparaj also said that, it was snowing heavily, the roads were jammed, but at no point, we were there in Kashmir for, I think, probably a week, like Jammu and Kashmir. But at no point did we have, there were like, thin crowds. We always had, crowds and also women just out on the streets, just so happy and so warm to everyone. All the yatris, they would come forward, it wasn't, I mean, when the yatra was going, I distinctly remember they would come themselves and just hug everyone. I think it was a beautiful culmination to the yatra itself.
This one thing that Ruchira talked about, all this myth about Kashmiris as not Indian, as they see themselves as somehow secessionist or somehow pro-Pakistan. Complete bunkum. Complete bunkum. The same thing that we were getting in Tamil Nadu and Kerala. The people were coming out of the roads, random people were coming out of their homes and giving us food, hugging us, making us play with their children, doing aarti with us. Old aunties and grandfathers and grandmothers were kissing us, and not just Rahul Gandhi, everyone. Same thing was happening in Kashmir. I mean, there is this one common thread uniting India. I'm telling you, people genuinely felt that we are doing some spiritual yatra, that we are doing something for the nation. We were just walking. In my mind, originally, we were just walking. But the political import and the cultural thread that unites India, from Kashmir to Kanyakumari, it is the same thread that unites us. We are all united in the same thing. We might have different cultures, we might look differently, but we are all united. And that this entire thing about unity and diversity was proved to us, all of us, in this yatra.
There's a very beautiful quote by Mahima Singh, who wrote about Maharashtra. She says that I feel that the yatra was like a havan that was purging India's political space, and it was preparing each of us in the yatra for this larger battle. This is what you're talking about also.
Yeah.
Okay, just in the end, would you like to encapsulate the learnings from the yatra, and going ahead, which of these do you think will be embraced both by the party and well as the people of the country?
One of the biggest learnings, both as a political organization and as an individual, would be, the power of the people, the power of we the people. As I think Rahulji says in his in the essay also, that India is its people, and political leaders, really need to listen to what the people say, what their aspirations are, what their dreams and hopes are. And just, I mean, even if not doing anything else, just listen to what people have to say. And at an individual level, I think as a yatri also, for me, I think something which will stay with me is, that we as people, we are all connected. We are not, islands in ourselves. And when we are together, when we are united, we do better. We grow together.
Pushparaj.
Yeah, no, when I think back about the yatra, one is that it changed something in each one of us. Intellectually, spiritually, it instilled a certain kind of humility, because, each of us had this idea of who we are, self-image of who we are, what we can do in this country, for this country, and what is right for the people, what is right for this nation. I think that there is a fundamentally innate wisdom in India at every region, which is, I don't know if it's unique to our country, but there is something fundamentally unique to every region. There is something there is some innate wisdom that everyone has. There is something truly extraordinary that we can learn from each person. And that is something that changes us as a human being. You become much more, you quieten yourself. You're becoming much more open to new adventures, new experiences, and you still your own mind become less prejudiced, become less biased, and you don't have this behavior that you know it all. That is one big thing personally. And when I extrapolate that from the yatra, from our learnings to what is happening today, I realized that India is a very, very it's a very loosely held together nation, and you hold it too tight and it will just spill out, it will just crumble. There is just the right amount of holding together, like sand in hand, right? You
Yes.
hold sand too tightly in your hands, it slips out of your fingers.
Yeah.
You have to have just the right amount of pressure to hold sand together, but let it exist in your this thing. And as Ruchira said, that common bond that unites us, no matter who you are or where you come from, what you think, there is a commonality that unites Indians. And we all have similar, we might have different aspirations, but we have similar needs, we have similar outlooks, we have a certain goal on what we are wanting to do. And I think Indians are perhaps one of the most spiritual and patriotic people that I've had to see. And many times in the yatra, I felt like, have you seen that movie Forrest Gump? There is one part where this Forrest Gump is running across the entire country and he's seeing everything. Our nation is just as beautiful. Our people are just as beautiful. And that common bond that unites us, if you are able to touch that pulse of that people, nothing can stop us. Nothing can stop us. We just have to find a way to empower and let soar the common strengths that are in all of us. If you're able to do that, I'm telling you, India will be one of the biggest nations, the brightest nations, like a beacon of democracy the world over. And I'm just hoping for the time when all of us will be able to actually do justice to that idea that Rahul Gandhi is showing us today, that path that he's on today.
So it was in true sense a Bharat Jodo Yatra, because you're talking about the unity of all things in India.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay. On that note, thank you so much, Pushparaj and Ruchira, for being part of this podcast.
Thank you, Ranjit ji.
Very kind of you to host us and listen to all our questions. We really enjoyed your conversation.
No, I would have loved to talk more, maybe on another time.
Absolutely.
And so thank you both of you again. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ranjit ji. Thank you to all the listeners. Thank you.
Thanks, Ranjit ji. Thanks to the viewers, listeners, and Ruchira, of course. Bye.
Okay, bye. So that was an interview with Pushparaj Deshpande and Ruchira Chaturvedi on their book, Bharat Jodo Yatra, Reclaiming India's Soul, published by HarperCollins. So listeners, do let us know, how did you find this opening episode of Season 2 of podcast Books and Us? If you would like to share about a book or know authors you would like to put me in touch with, you can reach me at podcast@raymondproductions.org. That is RAMONPRODUCTIONS.org. Thank you for listening to this episode of Books and Us. This is your host Ranjit Monga signing off. Till next time, goodbye and take care.